Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Canadian National Finals of the Entrepreneurship World Cup. I am Alec Wright, the Chief Innovation Officer of GSV Labs, and your host tonight for the National Finals of the Canadian EWC competition. This is the culmination of an incredible startup competition, an incredible, startup event that brings together hundreds of thousands of startups from across the globe to run various national final tracks, all converging for a global entrepreneurship World Cup. We had hundreds of startups apply for the Canadian track, and we now have our top 9 Canadian companies ready to pitch after an extensive evaluation process by judges from across the Americas. Today's event is part of the Global Entrepreneurship World Cup, which is a startup competition that has brought over 150,000 startups from 100 different countries, every vertical you could imagine, idea, early, and growth stage companies, all under one roof, competing for $1 million in cash prizes, tens of millions of dollars of in-kind contribution and support, and an unprecedented global platform to meet and speak to a global audience. So an incredible, opportunity and a really exciting competition that, we're excited to be a part of. GSV Labs is one of the national organizers of the US and Canadian tracks of the Entrepreneurship World Cup. We are an early stage startup ecosystem that works with early stage companies in our innovation centers in Silicon Valley, Boston, and soon to be in Pittsburgh. As well as we have GSV Passport, which is our online innovation community that supports over 25,000 entrepreneurs from across the globe, giving them access to corporations, hundreds of investors, expert mentors, and nearly $1 million in discounted or free technology tools and services. I'd love to share a little bit more about Passport before we get into it. So that is Passport, our online innovation community, free to join for any entrepreneur in the world. We hope you come check it out at gsvlabs.com because we're always excited to welcome new members into the Passport community. Startup Canada is our co-national organizer of the Canadian EWC, and Startup Canada is the national rallying community and voice for Canada's 3.5 million entrepreneurs. Startup Canada promotes and supports the foundation of the Canadian entrepreneurship ecosystem with a mandate to foster economic growth, competitiveness, and prosperity through entrepreneurship. Startup Canada celebrates and promotes Canada as a global leader in entrepreneurship, invests in building strong startup communities in every region across the country, provides a national perspective, and works with like-minded organizations domestically and internationally to advocate for the advancements of entrepreneurial activities. And of equal importance, they are really a vehicle for economic growth and entrepreneurship across the entire country. And they do this through dozens of highly visible and high impact programs, for every different type of startup, partner, ecosystem stakeholder. And if you want to learn more and interact with Startup Canada, you can find them online through their startup chats, their webinars, their Startup Canada podcast, and the Thrive podcast for women entrepreneurs. We would highly recommend if you're a Canadian entrepreneur, checking out Startup Canada and getting involved, or if you're an entrepreneur anywhere else in the world that is excited about Canada as a market or as a potential place for talent, customers, all of the above, you should definitely check out the Startup Canada platform. And with that, we are ready to get started in the Canadian National Finals. This is all made possible by an amazing group of global organizers. A huge shout out to the MISC Foundation, who makes all of this possible, the Global Entrepreneurship Network, T-Gulf, the Global Education and Leadership Foundation, because without the support and organizational capacity of these organizations, it would be impossible to bring hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs across the globe together for this competition. So let's take a look at who you're going to see tonight. We have 9 really exciting companies competing for $40,000 in cash. First, we have Karen from Boss Insights. We have Ross from Assured Innovations. We have Nigel from Sakara. We have Robert from Genesis Bioindustries. We have Alan from Metaverse. Michael and Mitchell joining us from Tunify. Nick joining us from Biosa Technologies. Dan from Bicep, Dan from Flight Material Sciences, and an incredible group of presenting companies that we'll see in the next couple minutes. And to evaluate those companies, we put together a really strong group of judges and evaluators that'll be asking questions, sharing their perspective of all of the above of these presenting companies. We have Melanie Campbell, who's a board member of Startup Canada. We have Nikhil Sinha, the CEO of GSV Labs, and we have Miriam Lazarte, the CEO of LATAM Startups. Before we get into the actual pitches, we're going to give each one of our judges a couple minutes to introduce themselves, share a little about their background and experience, and some information as to why they love being part of the startup community and what's so unique and interesting about the entrepreneurship ecosystem. With that, Nikhil Sinha, do you mind kicking us off?
Thanks, Alec.
Nikhil, can you turn your video on?
I think I need someone from production to start it.
There we go.
Here we go. Thanks a lot, Alec, and welcome everyone to the Canadian Finals of the EWC. We're excited to co-host it with Startup Canada. As Alec mentioned, I'm CEO of GSV Labs. I've been here for a little over 2 years. Before that, I was Chief Business and Chief Content Officer at Coursera, which is now the world's largest higher education platform. Prior to Coursera, I spent half my life as an entrepreneur and venture investor and the other half as an academic. At GSV Labs, we are very excited to support the startup community around the world for a number of reasons. First, entrepreneurship is one of the most important engines of economic growth. We know that the global problem of unemployment and underemployment cannot be solved simply through the creation of jobs in the formal sector. This was certainly true before the pandemic and has been severely accentuated because of the pandemic, which has now led to over 75 million jobs lost in the formal sector worldwide. So the resurgence of economic activity around the world now is heavily dependent upon entrepreneurship. Second, we know that entrepreneurs are now the biggest source of innovation and value creation. The top 5 companies in the world in terms of market value are entrepreneur-founded innovation companies. And at GSV Labs, we are very excited now to support the next generation of innovators and global value creators.
Thank you very much, Nikhil. Melanie, do you mind giving us a little bit on your background, a little bit more about Startup Canada and sharing what you find so exciting about the entrepreneurship community?
Hi, thank you so much, Alec. So when we talk about the entrepreneurship ecosystem and community, to me, there is nothing more exciting than that. I've been with Startup Canada, not just as a board member, I've been with Startup Canada as a board member for the last 2 years, but with Startup Canada for 7 years. So at the very onset and learning of being boots on the ground, understanding what entrepreneurs are looking for, connecting them to resources, and as you know, Nikhil was saying about entrepreneurs being innovative. Really small businesses and entrepreneurs are the backbone of the economy. So when you look at larger enterprise, if it wasn't for startups and small businesses and the innovation that they bring to the ecosystem and to the actual world itself, it would be pretty much tasteless. It's like peanut butter without jam kind of thing. So if you want to look at it in that sense. And I'm really excited to see these amazing entrepreneurs that will be pitching tonight. And there's been so much that's been put into this. Just want to wish everyone good luck tonight. And I know you will do well and you're all winners. So thank you so much for having us, and excited to be part of this tonight.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Miriam, would love to learn a little bit more about your background, and same question to you. What is so exciting about the startup ecosystem?
Sure, thank you so much. Somebody has to allow me to start with you. Okay, there you will. So yeah, my name is Miriam Lazarte. I'm the CEO of LATAM Startups. LATAM Startups is an organization that focuses on helping international startups to establish business in Canada. So basically, you know, we have seen a lot of businesses, entrepreneurs coming to start expanding business from Canada to other countries, either it's the US or Europe or many other, you know, countries in the world. So for us, it's very important that, you know, we keep this connection with local and international entrepreneurs for the sake of partnership, for, you know, keep supporting the economy in Canada to get investment in the country, and, you know, to get talent also to the country. So I'm very excited to see all the pitches today. So far, we have been able to help over 90 startups in the last 3 years to establish business in the country. We are part of the Startup Visa program, and we are also members of NACO, which is the National Angel Capital Organization. So, you know, thank you so much for inviting us, and good luck to all the startups today. I'm so looking forward to see all the pitches.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And another thank you to Nikhil, Melanie, and Miriam for giving us some time tonight to evaluate these pitches. We're really looking forward to hearing your perspectives on the startups. And we couldn't ask for a better panel of judges to help us make these final selections of who's going to represent Canada at the national or the global competition of the Entrepreneurship World Cup. And with that, we are ready to get started. You know, as a reminder to everyone, we are going to have 9 pitches here tonight. The startups will have 4 minutes to pitch, 4 minutes of Q&A. The judges will have the ability to evaluate those pitches and let us know which company is going to be advancing to the global finals and who's going, you know, to compete for $1 million in cash prizes, and which companies are going to be winning our cash prizes tonight for first and second place. With that, a reminder to the audience, all of you have the ability to ask questions to the startup in the chat to the right of the stream. If you are not on the EWC platform right now, it's a great time to get in so that you're able to ask questions. I'm going to do my best to surface any of these startups or any of these questions for the startups during the Q&A to try and get your questions in front of them if you have something really exciting to ask. And also, don't forget to rate the startups on the event page. If you look right below the stream, you can give all these startups a score of 1 to 5. Let us know who you're most excited about. And it's really important because if we have a tie on the judge scores, the audience vote is going to be breaking that tie. So you can help determine who's getting the cash and who is moving forward. So don't forget to vote. But with that, we're ready to get started. It's my pleasure to welcome our first presenting company to the virtual stage. That will be Kieran, CEO of Boss Insights.
Hello.
Hi, Kieran. You're coming through loud and clear, and we can see your presentation.
Okay, fantastic. Hi, everybody. It is so great to be here. Thank you to Startup Canada. Thank you for GSV Labs. And I'm really excited to come here and talk to you today. I'm Karen. I'm a former commercial banker, second-time entrepreneur, and co-founder of Boss Insights. And we have uncovered a massive opportunity in the business lending market. What we're doing is we're using data to bridge the gaps and empower banks and credit unions to accelerate business lending from months to minutes. And the reason we do that is because there is an immense need for capital. We heard today from one of the judges that entrepreneurship is creating new jobs. Well, businesses are the economic engine of the future. And Boss Insights has created a platform which will seize the data to enable banks and credit unions to capture the business lending market and fund the businesses who need the capital today more than ever before. When they have the right data for the right purpose at the right time, approvals can go from their current low rates of 28% up and up and up. We've seen approval ratings up at 56%, and the sky is the limit from there. We are in market today. We're actually servicing US banks, a top 5 Canadian bank, and private lenders, and we were chosen to be part of Oracle's partner network. We're one of the 3 fintechs out of the fintechs they've chosen to partner with that is part of their go-to-market strategy in 2020. And we're really proud of this quote that we have here from one of our US banks, saying that we helped them streamline their process as they were working to give COVID funding during 2020. This is some of the media coverage we've been really excited to garner over the past few years with our platform. And what we did was we built a leading platform that could offer accounting information in an instant, in addition to the other information. But we've done it in such a way that banks and credit unions can adopt it in one day without any coding, so that we're enabling them to delight their business customers, and our onboarding process is a delight to them. Here's some of the information that we are providing with our data platform. We have the most robust system of accounting APIs that is out there, and that enables us to help banks and credit unions serve the small and medium business lending market and the commercial market, but we don't stop there. We offer payments as well so that they can look at cash flow lending and payroll for the COVID lending in the US. We've done this because we have a very robust team of 9 people, led by 2 co-founders and 3 people in the management team. Our CTO scaled Amazon, and it was then that he learned that every business needs access to these types of insights. And me, being a commercial banker, figured that they need it when they're asking for capital, which is one of the top reasons that businesses fail today. So we then brought in a head of product who ran data and strategy at TransUnion to fulfill the management team. And we have developed relationships with some very significant power player advisors, people who've scaled their own fintech companies, and people who have ran banks, including the former head of CIBC Bank. We all know that business lending is broken because we've all tried to actually acquire capital. It's a $5 trillion problem, which is staggering. That's what Business Insider reports, growing at 19%. And to bring that down to earth, every day, 8,000 businesses walk in and ask for loans and are declined. 8,000. Each one is a person. And I hear the echoes of those people from the days that I was a commercial banker. We're here to offer what we've offered to our existing clients, up to 10%, 10 times increase in product adoption, 30% increase in revenue from business. And we are different from our competitors because we offer more access to data so we can serve more of the market. We're growing in revenue. We're already at over 2 times our revenue from last year, and we don't stop there. We're actually hiring now in sales and in tech, if you know of anyone. So I've thrown a lot at you, but if you can take away just 3 key points, it's that it's a $5 trillion opportunity, that there's a revenue growth, and the time is now. Thank you for your time.
Karen, thank you so much for sharing the Boss Insight story, and congratulations on the progress and traction to date. Very, very exciting. And I imagine with the upheaval of financial services over the past couple months, you've been a great partner to a lot of these financial institutions. So congratulations. I'd love to throw it to our judges for any questions. Maybe Nikhil, do you want to kick us off? You're on mute, Nikhil.
Sure. Thanks for the presentation, Karen. Really interesting.
Thank you.
First, I want to make sure I understand the solution. The platform is provided to banks, and then when someone comes to apply for a loan, they're required to hook into your platform so that you can draw on the data and make it accessible to the financial institution. Is that the process?
That's exactly the process.
All right, great. Have you seen, in terms of the customers that you're currently serving, the number of applications that are approved go up and the dollar value of those go up as well compared to previous instances?
I couldn't ask for a more perfect question. Thank you. We do see the number of applications go up, and it's not just with PHAS Insights. Anyone adopting API technology to gather data, it's basically like running where everyone else is walking. You're turning on a tap and data comes out instead of walking to the well to get the data. And we've seen companies like Square process over 800 million in loan applications. For us, we've had 90% digitization over manual offerings. It is staggering, and the time to approve applications has gone down by over 60%. So it's been wonderful that way.
And just a quick follow-up, you charge a subscription to the financial institution, or do you take some points on the transaction as well?
So we have a varied model for revenue because you have to approach different lenders in the way that they're comfortable. But for the large banks, we look at it per borrower or per data. If we're looking at it for private lenders, we will look at it as a percentage of loans if that's what they're more comfortable with. What we'd like to move to in the future is charging as a percentage of revenue so that we are aligned with our customers. We're not an alternative lender. We'll never compete with them. We just want to grow as they grow, enabling the businesses, the economic engine.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'd love to throw in Melanie. Any questions on your side?
Karen, that was fantastic. It was a great presentation. I just have one question with regards to the data. We talk about data analytics and security and privacy, especially now. How are the steps that you're managing to safeguard people's data in terms of privacy and the data that's provided to these lenders? Is it something that's already accessible, or is it being, as you can say, shadowed in such a way that only key insights are provided to the lender?
Great question. So we built this to be bank level secure, and it was built by somebody who scaled 3 tech companies. Amazon was just one of them. So we wanted to make sure, first of all, that it's, yes, offering convenience, but also offering additional security. I've experienced this as a banker and as somebody applying for loans, which we got approved, and as somebody who's selling to banks. And at the moment, you're sending information by email. It's completely unsecured. That's how we're doing it today. What we're offering is a secured platform. Now we can ask only for the information that's being asked for in lending now, which is just accelerating the process. Or we can ask for more information, but when you do that, you want to give the business owner something back. For instance, offers for cheaper rates or offers for other products. So we've really made sure to make something that works to offer transparency to the businesses and to the banks. The banks should learn, the businesses should get the offers faster.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Any questions on your side, Miriam?
Yes, I just have one question, and Karen, great presentation, was really good. So you were telling that you are providing more data, again, compare with your competitors. Who is your biggest competitor, and what kind of data is different from what they are providing right now in the market? How's that big difference between one competitor and yours?
I always like to start this by saying we have no competitors. I'm just kidding. We have lots of competitors. Data is the biggest hot topic right now. And there are people in market who are doing great things like Codat and Validus and Fractal Labs, to name a few. And what they're focusing on is accounting information. In fact, there is a road where we could collaborate with these types of competitors because we are offering more robust accounting to serve not just the small and medium business market, but the commercial market as well. And we didn't just stop in accounting. We have over 800 APIs, and we announced that publicly, where our competitors talk about APIs, but they'll have somewhere between 10 and 20, not that much more than that. We really have orders of magnitude higher in payroll, in payments, in marketing, in operations. What can you do with that? You can cross-sell. Right now, banking is product-driven, not user-driven. So you've all been there where you have to fill out 1 million forms, but what if they knew what you needed and they could tell you what would help you with your business? That's what I dreamed of when I was a commercial banker. And that's really where we wanted to excel as a competitor.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for the question, and Karen for the wonderful presentation and answers. Really, really exciting work that you're doing for the middle market and the financial services space, and excited to see more headlines of adoption in the months that come. Congratulations.
Thanks for your time.
Wonderful. With that, we are ready to move to our second presenting company. It is my pleasure to welcome Ross from Assured Innovations to the virtual stage.
How's it look?
Looks, you're coming through clear. Can you turn your video on?
Oh, my apologies. Working now? Good to go?
Good to go.
Awesome, thanks. Hi, my name's Ross. I'm from Assured, and Assured is completely disrupting the commercial fishing industry. The current standard for commercial fishing leaves a lot to be desired. In the fishing industry, you have millions of vertical lines that extend throughout the water columns in the ocean, and it costs fishermen their livelihood, essentially. They spend $25,000 on average repairing and replacing gear on an annual basis because 8 to 30% of it gets lost. Now, this is designed to catch and kill fish in a lot of cases. So when you find out that 640,000 tons of fishing gear becomes ocean waste on an annual basis, it's kind of a big problem. It actually kills 140,000 endangered and protected animals on an annual basis accidentally. Now, governments don't want this because this is going to result in extinctions like the North Atlantic right whale, the catalyst for change in Canada, at least. 85% of deaths are attributed to entanglements with these vertical fishing lines. Canada spends $33 million flying planes over the ocean to prevent these things from occurring. And if they spot a whale, they'll close the zone 15 days. But it costs a fisherman anywhere from $75,000 to $900,000 in losses if it's only closed for 15 days. In California, they didn't want to fly planes over the ocean, so they decided to do 3-month closures, costing the industry hundreds of millions of dollars overnight and putting people out of work. For Assured, we've found a solution. By coiling up the rope in the water column and removing rope from the water column, it allows you to solve these issues. And so a fisherman can go out and where they've placed their gear and they normally extend it, falls to the ocean floor. Now they're sending down a proprietary signal when they get back into the area. That allows the buoy to rise up to meet them when they reach to the location, as opposed to it being there stagnant and static at all times. Then they can haul it aboard using all existing processes and procedures from there. But if you have your gear on the ocean floor, you kind of want to know where it is. And so we also have a digital mapping platform as well that allows you to be able to understand the ocean floor as if it were the ocean surface, creating digital markers on the tablets and depth finders on board to be able to ensure that they have all the information that they need to make those actionable decisions and ensure that regulators have the same oversight. This is a very large industry, this rope on command, ropeless industry where the rope can be on the bottom of the ocean floor. It's $18.5 billion for crab and lobster on a global scale, 2.2 are realizable in Canada and the US, but there are other species that can really expand this industry as well. And that increases the market opportunity too, quite conveniently. For Assured, our model consists of our Mobi and Atlas system. Now it would be the actual device that goes underwater as well as the software that tracks the system. So a $5,000 vessel setup and $1,800 per Mobi unit. These actually put us in a really strong position compared to our competitors, which I'll get to in a second. But addition to trap fishing, we've also considered other angles. So we've actually reinvented the stainless steel, the lobster trap to make it stainless steel so that it uses no plastic. And this has become a huge success and has been an opportunity for us to generate early sales. We've also adapted our system into an arrow, which is what we use for net fishing so that we can actually access that market as well. And so these provide an opportunity to quadruple our market size to about a $70 billion opportunity. We set up 6 major milestones to market, and this is really mostly to illustrate that we're on track on all those, despite COVID creating some changes in that, but really don't have time to get into it. Our competitors consist of 5 companies, but really they're not addressing it from the problem. They're only saying we kind of have the technical solution and we can kind of use it in your use case. So here you go and good luck, but it adds time to their day and ultimately doesn't allow the fishermen to be able to utilize ropeless fishing how it's needed to be. Our team consists of 3 co-founders, myself, Aaron, and Max. Max comes from a lobster fishing family and has actually brought his brother aboard to make our team even stronger. We have excellent engineers as well as developers who have honed out and rounded out our team as we've really brought our technical competencies inside. But we've received great partnerships across the industry and with government agencies, allowing us to secure a $92,000 initial pilot project with Government of Canada, followed by an $800,000 project with them, bringing our total to $1.3 million in non-dilutive funding that we've raised thus far. This all goes on our timeline. We're working on a funding in progress right now after a friends and family round we did last fall, 60% secured on that funding in progress, where we would use the use of funds primarily to focus on production and R&D as we round out to reach out our goals for the years. Our projections put us in a position for that general hockey stick growth. I don't have a whole lot of time to get into too many of the numbers, but please, if you'd like to ask questions, I'd be happy to share more details. Thanks.
Ross, thank you so much for introducing us to Assured, and congratulations on the all of the non-dilutive funding that has allowed you to really start going after this industry that has not gotten the attention it deserves, from the technology world. It's really exciting to see what you're doing. I'd love to throw it to our judges. Melanie, do you want to kick us off with a question?
Sorry, I just needed to be unmuted for 1 second there. So I love the concept of the actual fishing boats being able to go out instead of having being able to identify the buoys that's out there. Can you tell us a little bit more about that process? Like, do they need Wi-Fi? What is it that's really driving that? Is it just like a sonic signal? How is that working?
Yeah, so it is an acoustic signal. In a lot of cases, they are within range, and so just your standard cell service. In certain cases, if you're outside of range, a lot of vessels will have an iridium antenna so that you're able to access that. However, the general application just allows for any information that would otherwise be just kind of stored in the cloud to upload when you get closer to land if you're not having signal access there. But it's just a general acoustic signal, so that isn't required to actually get the gear aboard. It's constantly putting out that signal, and so when you're within your vicinity to retrieve your gear specifically, that low burst signal is able to be decoded and releases your gear to the surface. It'll tell you if someone else's gear is there, so you're not going to put your gear over top of theirs and create any other issues. And the regulators are able to see, okay, this is John Smith's gear. He's not lying. It would be the same as if they could just pull the buoy up on the surface. But otherwise, no, you can't get somebody else's gear and it would just be sending down that proprietary signal to release it to the surface.
Okay, excellent, perfect. And I just have one more question, sorry. Especially because we know that lobster fishing is such a huge industry in Canada and to other places. How have you found adoption with the fishers, like for especially lobster fishing?
Well, lobster and crab are really the driving forces. And lobster's been great because in Nova Scotia, it's such a huge industry, and Max and Brigham, who are 2 people on our team, Brigham is actually a lobster fisherman. And so it's been really great to get that trust building exercise in hands face to face. It really is about trust building with them. So all of our innovations and ideas and feature sets come from working directly with them. The competitors that kind of have off the shelf solutions, the reason as to why it's going to triple their the amount of time it takes them to do their daily workload is because you're doing these little things that add up when you consider the fact that someone's going to have 3, 4, 500 traps aboard potentially when it's cycling throughout the day, or on dump day when they have to dump all these out. And so by working so closely with the fishermen, early on, it was a lot of, what are you guys talking about? This is ridiculous. And then it's coming back 6 months later, having taken their suggestions and they're saying, oh, it would be only good if it could do this. And then ultimately showing them, okay, we want to work with you. We want to make a solution, not just like a product, which is what our competitors kind of have done. And so it's been a really great trust building exercise. And we have had constant capability to test with whomever we want. And that's been really exciting because that allows us to ensure that we're not limited by the number of bodies of water that we're testing in. We're making sure all factors and considerations are taken into, well, all circumstances are taken into consideration, and weather conditions and such.
Perfect, thank you.
Cool.
Any question from you, Miriam?
I just have one question regarding the adaptation of the service in other markets. Have you seen, which other potential countries are you going to scale up, or how is the idea of the company going to other markets around the world?
It's interesting. As the only Canadian company in the space, it puts us in a really good spot because Canada is kind of leading the way in terms of the economic pressure. The US has basically said, we're going to cut off trade ties if you guys don't get your fishing industry in order. And the US, for California, for example, California is leading the way. It's very state by state based there. And so there's certain areas that have the ability to move a little bit quicker than it would be at a federal level. Europe is really, really driving the way. And so when you see like different countries along kind of whether it's the northwestern coast, whether it's Wales, the UK, Norway, and kind of those Scandinavian regions, there's a lot of subsidies that are available and are really pushing the development of this kind of technology because they see the higher value on the sustainability side of things. In fact, they're able to charge a premium. And so there's good opportunity there. The Asian market's one where it's a little bit trickier, but it's got a good opportunity for shrimp. So that's one that we're seeing maybe in the longer term. But Europe and South America have really high potentials. And so we would go to those after Canada and the US.
Any questions from you, Nikhil?
Yeah, Ross, thanks for the presentation. So a couple of questions. One, could you talk a little bit about the revenue model and what are the components of the solution that you charge for? And then secondly, what's the defensive moat here? Is this proprietary intellectual property, or is it, a combination of services and solutions? And what will protect you from competition, adopting the same solution?
It's kind of a smorgasbord. It's a little bit weird there because it is very much a blend of hardware, software. And so the Moby, that's the containment of the rope, that is the hardware. And we sell those on an individual basis for about $1,800 a piece. And they're modular in size. So depending on where you fish or what you fish, you're able to utilize that. The competitive solutions in that range, $1,800 is the lowest that's offered. And generally they're about 2 to 3 times that price. And so that puts us in a strong position. The really big value differentiator in terms of from a revenue perspective and also from a value offering is Atlas, which is our software package that allows the communication with the gear on the ocean floor. So other people have like a Google Maps based platform that essentially just says, oh, the gear's gone and now it's back up. And this is, it's very much just something that could be pulled from Excel. But this provides fishermen and regulators the confirmation that the gear is where it is. It's a two-way communication system as opposed to simply recognizing when gear has left the boat. It's able to communicate with on the ocean floor. So it's actually able to secure the key location as to where the gear is and that it's communicating with it in the vessel. And that's actually what we have protected. And so although competitors may have an individual component that can kind of work, it puts us in a very strong position because in order for them to have the software that can communicate effectively with their hardware, that the gear is being brought aboard in a ropeless fishing circumstance, then they're violating our patent, which we have a patent on in Canada and the US. And so ultimately the use case patent is the really big thing that differentiated it for us. We're building each of our components with optimal input from the fishermen themselves to ensure that we're checking all the boxes, especially on the software side, working with the regulators. But that's going to be the key thing is because regulators will be able to use our system to ensure compliance and prevent illegal fishing, whereas a competitor's system could actually increase the likelihood of illegal fishing and not really be an inventory management system for the regulators. And that's why we're working directly with the federal government so closely in Canada so that we can have this set up. And we're also doing so with NOAA, the federal government and entity in the United States as well. And so they've been a good resource for us too.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ross. And one final question from the audience. And if you could answer this in 15, 20 seconds, that would be great.
Sure.
Jimmy, how many units are typically deployed per vessel?
So that would really depend whether it's on crab or lobster. So for crab, it can be an extremely high number. It could be potentially 150 units on a one-to-one basis. But those crab traps are about the size of a car, and you're pulling up tens and thousands of dollars worth of hauls of crabs inventory each time you're doing that. And so it really is about the loss potential there. And for lobster, you're going to be looking at potentially anywhere from 20 of them to 70 or 80 of them per vessel.
Thank you so much, Ross. And thank you for sharing the Assured journey with us. Excited to see what comes next.
Thanks so much.
With that, we're ready to move to our third presenting company. It's my pleasure to welcome Nigel from Sakara to the virtual stage.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you and we can see your presentation. You're good to go.
Beautiful. All right. So we've all been woken up by that horrible noise before, early in the morning, the neighbor is cutting his lawn. And as I was looking into the problem, I saw that there's a lot of problems with lawnmowers. Gas tanks are messy, cords are a hassle, and it's just not a pleasant experience overall. So as I started looking into the problem, I realized that this was a lot deeper than I ever realized. Lawnmowers were not only harming the planet, but they were also causing damage to our children, and also were so bad because of no regulatory body in terms of single engine lawnmowers that they were as equivalent of running one lawnmower for 1 hour is the same as running a new car for 550 kilometers. So you can see how bad lawnmowers are compared to newer vehicles. So the problem was a really big problem that we wanted to solve. So here at Aviata Industries, we came up with a solution, and that is Sakara. So Sakara is a new type of lawnmower that implements a patented cutting technology. This uses an oscillating blade, which reduces all of the inefficiencies in a regular lawnmower. Using this technology, we can make the lawnmower silent. We have a very lightweight model, only weighs around 20 pounds. And using this, we're able to offer compact storage and no maintenance. So this is a big one. We have self-sharpening blades, which allows for zero maintenance requirements in our lawnmowers. So moving on, once we had the product, we wanted to put a very robust team in place to take this to the next level. And to do that, we got in a chief financial officer, Mr. Imran Siddiqui. He's worked for over 20 years with one of the biggest banks in the world, and he's very experienced in terms of acquiring funds and managing how funds are used. Further on, we got the director of global supply chain, Mr. Joshi. Using his contacts throughout the world, we were able to manufacture the lawnmower for an extremely, extremely low price. And finally, we got Mr. Tariq Sheikh, and he was able to come in as the Chief Information Security Officer, since we have electronic communications with the lawnmower, and he was able to support us in the IT division. So let's look at the market for lawn mowing. So just in Canada alone, there's 1.7 million homes. And in the States, that jumps up to 61.29 million households. And that culminates to a market of around $26.6 billion as of 2018. And this number is growing every day since 2018. So moving down, the cost breakdown of the lawnmower. We wanted to make the lawnmower very cheap for people. We wanted everyday people to be able to use this lawnmower. So we made the lowest model extremely cheap. And then we made a model that was being able to use for businesses and small lawn care businesses that people use all the time. With this kind of a model, with our global sourcing, we were able to get a margin of around 60 to 63%, which is better than the competitors in the market. So the model lineup goes as followed. We have a 2-hour battery range model for everyday residential use, and then it goes up to around 7 to 8 hours with a higher number of cells. Moving on, plan to market. So currently, we're in the process of launching our crowdfunding campaign. Once this launches, we plan to deliver our lawnmower to our customers in October. And currently, we have 1,000 pre-orders already through our contacts. So financial forecasts are as follows. We see in 2020 with the crowdfunding campaign and the pre-orders that we have and the contracts that we've been working on, we expect our revenue to be around $4.9 million. And that is just expected to grow steadily year by year for the next 3 years. Thank you so much for for giving me a little bit of your time. I want it to be brief, but I hope this was short and sweet.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Really appreciate you introducing us to Sakara and the work you're doing in the lawn mowing industry. I'd love to throw it over to our judges. Maybe Miriam, do you have anything to kick us off with?
Yeah, I would like to know about competitors in the same market. What is your biggest competitor right now?
Yeah, so we have a couple competitors, and none of them are anything close to what we want to share. I just shared my screen one second. I would like to show you the competitors. So we have the competitors here. So this is the highest level of competitors that we have. For electronic lawnmowers, so we have the Eco 21-inch. For gas lawnmowers, we have the Toro and Husqvarna for automated lawnmowers. And as you can see, the weight, cut time, battery life, size, and price, we have them beat in every category, including the noise level. The noise level is a Richter scale. So the higher it is, it's multiplied. It's exponential scale, which allows for ours to be extremely quiet. It's less than a conversation voice. So those are the competitors in the market that come close to our product.
Thank you. Any questions from Nikhil? You're muted, Nikhil.
I can't, I'm sorry.
I heard you say during the presentation that there is electronic communication with the, can you explain that a little bit more?
Yes, so we have an application which connects to the lawnmower, which sends you notifications when the weather is nice to cut. You can set a reminder to cut the lawnmower. It tells you how much battery is left, how much cutting time is left. You can set it up if you have people coming to cut your lawn. It sends notifications to those lawn care companies to come cut your lawn. So it's just to make your life a lot easier. And the application is just a very small part of the product.
Any questions from you, Melanie?
I have one quick question. So you mentioned that it's self-sharpening blades, and you mentioned about injuries and so on and so forth. How are these self-sharpening blades? Is there a specific guard that's on them as the lawnmower is being moved along? Because I can see from the image that there's an open area, but I just want to get a better understanding of the type of guard that's protecting these blades as it's cutting.
Of course, very good question. So we design our cutting mechanism in a way where no organic matter would be able to come in contact with the cutting surface of the blades, and only the grass blades would be able to be cut. So if you look at the model, you can touch the bottom, you can touch the front, you can touch the top, and you won't get cut. The self-sharpening part comes into our procurement. So we were able to find metals that self-sharpen as they are rubbed on each other, right? So as there's friction between the two blades, it self-sharpens, and the sharpness of the blade is maintained for amazing cutting for almost 6 to 7 years. That's what we're expecting so far. Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, I'll bring in a question from one actually coming in from one of our other founders in the Zoom chat. Is it possible that the system would be adapted for harvesting in other areas or for other type of agricultural activities other than just lawn cutting?
Yes, that's another very good question. So the whole reason for our IP strategy was to get a hold on the technology that we have, because this technology is not only used in everyday lawn care applications, but also in large-scale agricultural products. And actually, we're working on some kind of products that could be used in the large-scale agricultural production that we have going on in the breadbasket of Canada in the central areas. And we're working with a couple farms into developing the technology for a larger scale use.
Very interesting. We have another question from the audience from Alice, and it's specifically asking about other electronic lawnmower brands like Ryobi. We saw how you stack up against kind of the whole landscape, but how do you fare against kind of the electric lawnmower industry specifically?
Yep. So if you guys paid attention to the competitive chart Ryobi was actually one of them. It was on there. So these guys, the electric lawnmowers, the problem that they're facing is their battery dies too quickly, right? And the reason that is because the cutting mechanism is so inefficient that the energy is just wasted in the updraft of air that's created, and the energy that is transferred to the small clippings, right? That's just going to waste. So we eliminated all that, right? We focused the energy just on shearing the grass and mulching it in a way that it sits back into your lawn and offer fertilizer as time goes on.
Got it. And that's a great segue into the final question I was going to ask on my own regard, which is my first business was a lawn care business when I was younger. Yeah. And I remember pushing the lawnmower through like 6-inch thick, heavy grass. How does this fare to those, thicker grasses? And how do you manage kind of grass collection if that's something they want?
Mm-hmm. So this lawnmower, we have not implemented a grass collection mechanism because I wanted to keep the prices low for all of the customers. However, we do have an attachment in another model which does have collection mechanism, and that's sold for around $299. And that collection mechanism works in the same patent that we have applied for this technology.
Wonderful. Nigel, thank you so much. Really appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot.
With that, we're ready to move to our fourth presenting company. It's my pleasure to welcome Robert from Genesis Bioindustries to the virtual stage.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert from Genesis. And what we do at Genesis is we transform low-value waste into high-value materials, such as bioplastics. A problem is that modern society is extremely wasteful. Every year, we produce over 1 trillion pounds of organic waste. And at the same time, there's over 5 trillion pieces of plastic floating in the oceans. One solution to this plastic problem is PHAs. They're a natural biopolymer produced by bacteria as an energy storage mechanism. You could almost think of PHAs as the fat of bacteria, which we can then extract and turn into bioplastic resins. And these resins have similar properties to traditional plastics. However, they will break down in aquatic as well as terrestrial environments in under a year. The one challenge with PHAs and all other bioplastics is they're sourced from agricultural feedstocks, which makes them very expensive. But at Genesis, we've developed a technology to transform low-value food waste into these bioplastics in only 7 days. And the benefits of using waste as a feedstock is that we can significantly cut the cost of production as well as reduce emissions of traditional plastics production. The plastics market globally is pretty huge, and a big growing component of that is the bioplastic space. It's supposed to triple in size by 2025 to over $80 billion US. And our focus at Genesis is premium food packaging, medical plastics, as well as 3D printing filaments. Back in 2017, with limited financial resources, we actually used rice cookers as our initial bioreactors. But after receiving funding, we were able to scale up to a 4,000 square foot pilot facility in Toronto. And at the beginning of 2020, we did a 3-time scale up validation with the National Research Council in Canada. And our big milestone for next year is to commission a demonstration plant, which is 10 times bigger than our current pilot facility. We've also developed a number of extremely important research partnerships. We've done fermentation scale-up with the NRC, as well as the University of Toronto, and polymer development with Green Center Canada and the University of Guelph. Sodexo is one of our major public partners, and we did a pilot project with them, collecting about 6,000 pounds of food waste and converting it into PHA bioplastics, also offsetting emissions. And in Q1 and Q2 alone, we demonstrated the versatility of our polymers with some of our partners like Novo Nordisk, where we produced thin films as well as harder plastics. We also did a test to demonstrate how they break down over time in soil. And our business team was extremely busy in the first few quarters to secure these different product development revenue streams, as well as purchase orders and LOIs. Our team has a very strong financial backing from notable investors such as Y Combinator. We're one of the youngest teams in Canada to receive over $2 million from the government. And we've won a number of different prestigious awards, such as the BASF Innovation Challenge, as well as the Extreme Tech Challenge. And this success is really a result of our award-winning team. We're female founded, with our CEO having started previous companies. Abdul, our COO, has managed large teams. Brad, our CFO, was one of the early employees at one of the biggest bioplastics companies in the world. Our director of engineering, a new hire, has decades of experience, and Haas has a background in biotechnology and a number of high impact factor publications. Our team is big and it's growing quickly. We're also backed by an expert advisory board. One advisor, Dr. Barber, founded the first company to commercialize PHA, and then Dr. Dietrich Scherzer, senior polymer scientist at BASF. And this is the future, where we can optimize our bacteria to further drive down the cost of production of PHAs and leverage the metabolic pathways of bacteria to make premium chemicals at affordable prices from these sustainable feedstocks. And that's Genesis. Thank you.
Robert, thank you so much for introducing us to Genesis, and certainly could not be a bigger, more important problem to be working on than dealing with the issues of waste. So really exciting to see what you're doing. I'd love to throw it to our judges. Nikhil, do you want to kick us off with any questions?
Thanks, Robert. Terrific work. I'm interested to know why you're not just focusing on creating the PHAs, but actually creating the products from those as well, because it seems that if you focus on creating the PHAs, those can be made available to anybody who's building products without you necessarily getting into the competitive product market as well.
So in the future, I guess our go-to-market is to eventually license this technology so that PHAs can be actually a drop-in solution to existing plastics manufacturers. Early on, we do plan to do some of our own products, just because obviously you could generate more revenue in the early stages. But when we think about scaling, there's already infrastructure for plastics manufacturing, and we intend to actually leverage that. It's less friction.
All right, thank you.
Any questions from you, Melanie?
I have one. So in terms of the waste products that you're using, is it all raw waste, or is there any of the substances that are cooked waste products, or is it does it need to meet a certain requirements for you to use it?
Perfect. Yes, we use basically municipal waste. So it's heterogeneous, mixed all different sources. It could be discarded food waste from kitchens, from homes. So similar to anaerobic digestion, we can collect all of that waste. It doesn't have to be, it can be pretty dirty and smelly, to be honest. So we can take basically all of it.
And any questions from you, Miriam?
Actually, he already answered the question that I'm going to ask. So it's all good. Yeah, Mel kind of got the point.
Wonderful. Certainly, I have a question around the capital intensity of the technology. So, what is it going to take kind of at each stage to go from pilot production to, mass production of your own products, and then finally to licensing the platform to other manufacturers? What does your capital journey look like?
Sure. Yeah, biotechnology is naturally very capital intensive, as I'm sure you're all aware. However, because we have existing waste infrastructure in place, we can actually leverage that in the anaerobic digestion industry. So we could realistically co-locate with them, add an attachment to their existing facility, and that will help drive down the capital costs as opposed to creating standalone facilities. But we have done the calculations, and we expect a payback period in about 3 to 4 years, depending on scale. So at that point, we could actually, fund these projects ourselves, knowing that they will be paid back over time.
Wonderful. Robert, thank you so much for introducing us to Genesis and really excited about the work you're doing. Hopefully we'll see less waste going into the landfills and more going into new plastic products. Thanks again.
Definitely. Thank you.
With that, it's my pleasure to welcome our fifth presenting company. Let's welcome Alan from Metaverse to the virtual stage.
Hello, everybody. Please give me the thumbs up if you can see my screen.
You're coming through.
All right, perfect. My name is Alan Smithson. I'm the CEO of Metaverse, and Metaverse is a universal 3D creation platform that lets anybody harness the power of spatial computing. It's easy to learn, it's easy to create, and it's easy to share. Let me show you. So this is our editor. It's very, very simple. There's no coding required. Unless you are into JavaScript, you can get in there and code. But if you're not, it's all drag and drop. The whole environment's in 3D. It's all running on the web. And let's do a project together here. So we're going to grab this. Somebody pick a color. Melanie, what color do you want to make this pyramid here?
Red.
Red. We're going to make it red. All right. She picks red. And then check this out. We can actually start to change its reflections. And it's all real time. Everything here is real time. If I grab the lights, for example, I can actually start to move the lights and you see everything's real time. It's really wonderful. So we've grabbed this red color. I'm actually going to take its roughness down and make it smooth like glass. And you start to see a reflection in the mirror there. So if I hit the world controller, you'll start to see now that we have a background. It's called physically based rendering, and it's real time rendering all on the 3D object. It's rendering this object. So now what I can do with that is I can publish this directly from the web, and I can publish it in real time. We can go over here. I'm going to refresh this. It'll turn it purple, or it'll turn it red because we made it red. So let's take a look here. It's downloading real time. I'm going to turn off my video for 2 seconds here while it does that. And before we get to that, while it's downloading, I want to talk to you a little bit about our team. So our team is really interesting. We've been working on this product for 5 years in stealth. And really what it is at the core of it is a core rendering technology that allows us to render photorealistic 3D objects on the web on any device. Our CTO, Waleed, is a technology unicorn. He can put together systems all over from any different place. And our VP of R&D, Sergey, he's been working on this and he actually created the core rendering engine. It's really amazing. Our Chief Product Officer, Paul, he's been working with the team to build this product to make it the best it possibly can. Our Chief Commercial Officer, Jonathan Moss, he comes via Sprint. He was the Chief Learning Officer there using augmented reality and 3D to train their staff all around the world. And the last two are myself and my wife, Julie. We've been working together for 20 years. We invented the emulator, which is a large see-through touchscreen DJ controller. We also have on our marketing department, Alex and Octavio, who are geniuses in the space as well. Let's go back to our product here. It's still loading, so we'll move on. You want to know the potential of this. So we talk about some money here. Investors always want to know, how much money am I going to make? So if you look at the potential here, VR and AR and 3D have the ability to add $1.5 trillion to the global economy by 2030. That is a massive number. This technology will impact every single industry. Now, that's going to make you jump for joy. But what I really want to show you is that we did this real time. There you go. There's your red pyramid. And we're going to go inside and see what people do in the first 90 days of our launching this product. This is what people had to say. Metaverse has the power of spatial computing for everyone. Metaverse is amazing and it's going to change the world. Metaverse platform will help us aid in upskilling our employees as they support frontline healthcare workers. This is a badass platform. Metaverse has massive potential. And Metaverse is an important new tool in the no-code movement. So that's some of the early feedback, but let's look at some of our traction. We have 2,776 engagements. These are all in the last 90 days. 1,500 registered users in the last 90 days. We have a serviceable, addressable market of $30 billion. And our pipeline for 2021 is $2.5 million. The last one, we're gaining 25 new users every single day. So with that, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to show you that with your phone, if you pull out your phone right now, point it at the QR code, you can try any of our demos right now live. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to answering your questions.
Alan, thank you so much for the very interesting and dynamic demonstration of the platform. Really, really interesting and exciting stuff. I'd love to throw it over to our judges. Maybe Melanie, do you want to start us off? And Alan, do you mind turning your video back on?
Absolutely. There we go.
Okay, cool. That was awesome. A quick question. When you talk about spatial technology, is there that, I saw that you can use it to model anything. Would this be something that you can use in terms of gaming? So if somebody wanted to get into gaming and they wanted to create their own characters, is something that can be done? And is there an easy way to really kickstart that?
So the answer is we actually set out to make a gaming engine, and actually Forbes called it the gaming engine for enterprise. Really what we wanted to do was take the ease of use of making games and bring it to the enterprise. Now, having said that, one of our main competitors, Unreal Engine, right now is Epic Games is suing Apple for monopoly. So there's a huge interest in being able to possibly put games on the web rather than have to go through the app store. So yes, the answer is yes, it can be done. It wasn't our focus, but with seeing what's happening right now with all of the push towards the no app store movement, we really think that there's something here special here that we could build games on this as well. It's not our primary focus. We're enterprise focused, but if game developers want to build it, it could be built for sure.
Okay, great. I do have another question, but I'll let others ask because this might take just a couple of minutes. So sure. I don't know if I can ask it or not.
I'm sure you can.
We'll run through to Miriam and Nikhil, and then we'll come back to you, Melanie.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Miriam, do you have any questions?
Yes. So Alan, you mentioned that this is not your primary focus right now. Which one is your primary focus? Is your solution focusing in one specific vertical in one sector, or how you are intending to grow, from different verticals?
Sure. So we actually, because it's a creator tool, we want to empower creators. It doesn't matter what industry they're in. So we actually have projects in healthcare, in automotive, in retail, in marketing, in training, in sales, in e-commerce. We really believe that this should be open and universal. It's the only web-based game engine in the world that hasn't been acquired.
Any questions from you, Nikhil?
Yeah, Alan, hi. Thanks. That was great.
Thank you, sir.
Talk a little bit about the revenue model and how you scale revenue, and also a little bit about competitors and competitive solutions.
Certainly. So our revenue model is a standard enterprise SaaS. We're a hosted service. We're actually the only service that is hosted like this. So you can publish it directly from us. You don't have to worry about the app stores. So we're a hosted service. We have a 3-tier system, free and then 3 paid tiers, typical enterprise SaaS. And then we have per views as well. So some things will get millions of views, and we have a larger tier for those types of things. Some will be small, where maybe it's only 100 people. So we have different tiers of pricing for that. Now we also, because we started life as a consulting firm and studio, we also have a studio that generates revenue as well. So what we're doing right now is we're building the first projects with our customers, and then we're actually showing them how easy it was to build, and we're letting them build the second ones, and we're working with them. So the ultimate goal is to build only the really, really difficult R&D projects so that our product gets better and better. But really, we want our customers to be able to do this. And because it's a no-code environment, trainers can make training on this. Marketing people can make marketing efforts on this. E-commerce departments can build this. They don't have to go and find specialized programmers and developers.
And competition?
So our competition really is 2 big game engines, Unreal and Unity. Unity makes about 90% of all the mobile games in the world. They've recently pivoted towards enterprise as well. And Unreal Engine, which is Epic Games, and they have Fortnite. And right now, those 2 are the biggest in the world. Unity's actually just filed their IPO recently, and Epic has raised at $1.7 billion. So this is a massive market, but neither one of them work on the web. And that's their Achilles heel, because the future of this technology is in the web. The future of the metaverse, which is the word you use to describe the universe you're in when you're in virtual, augmented, or mixed reality, the metaverse, the future of that has to be based on the web. There's no other way around it. So we're the only game engine, like I said, that is universal, that works on iPhones, works on Android, works on computers, PCs, anything. So.
Thank you. Maybe we'll give it back to Melanie for the final
Sure.
word.
Okay, so the question was regarding using spatial data. So if you wanted to create something that was 3D rendering in order to render, say, an environment, whether it's roads or some sort of asset, how difficult would that be? And then in terms of where that would be stored. So that might be a longer question. You may need to take that offline, but it's just a quick question for you.
Yeah, we'll have to take that offline. That is quite a difficult question.
Okay.
It really comes down to the 3D models have to be made prior to bringing them into our system, but they could be made or acquired. So you could make them in Maya or Blender or these systems, or you could acquire them on platforms like Sketchfab or TurboSquid. And then once they're in, ours is really about taking 3D models and making experiences with them.
Okay.
So does that answer your question? Or I know it's a long question, but.
Yeah, no, it answers part of it. So yeah, that's fine.
You can talk offline. So what I'm showing you here right now is live augmented reality from my phone. You can see that everything that we do also works in augmented reality. So it's not just what you see in on the 3D web, but it's also in augmented reality.
Thank you so much, Alan. Really, really excited to see and love the opportunity to demo and really understand the product live in the pitch here. So thank you for popping the hood and showing us what's possible.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. We are ready for our sixth presenting company. It's a duo, so we'll have two people presenting throughout this. It's my pleasure to welcome Michael and Mitchell from Tunify to the virtual stage.
Hello, can you see me okay?
We can see you and your screen's coming through. You're good to go.
Perfect. All right, so imagine you're about to perform for your favorite show, American Idol. You take out your guitar, you strum your first chord, and you're out of tune.
Imagine you own a music store where profits are key, and you can bet that you need to tune each guitar before the customer tries it. How do you ensure that 50 guitars are in tune with only one store attendant? And you know people don't like waiting.
Now imagine a solution. Welcome to Tunify, the world's first hands-free robotic guitar tuning stand. This automated stand is able to tune any 6-string acoustic guitar in under 20 seconds with an accuracy of 2 cents.
Cents is a way to measure pitch.
Thank you, Mitch. So here's a small demo of how it works. So ideally, the 6 robotic arms are able to latch onto the pegs of the guitar by themselves and actually tune the guitar using computer vision and robotics, all fully autonomous. And this was actually fully developed in-house within our team. So the 3 main value points of Tunify include number 1, we are the first company in the entire world to create a fully autonomous guitar tuning stand. Number 2, we have extremely high accuracy within 2 cents. And number 3, we are able to tune in record-breaking speed in under 20 seconds. This has created a very sustainable business model for us because we've created the hardware from scratch and are able to layer the software upgrades on top going forward. But what about our mission? So altogether at Tunify, our aim is to unify art and science with robotics and artificial intelligence. But what about the market?
Great question, Michael. So did you know there's actually 780 million guitars in the world today? There's 2.4 million guitars sold in the US each year, and the guitar market is projected to increase by 10% for the next 5 years. Now, we sell wherever there's a high volume of guitars, where speed and accuracy are key. That includes 5,000 music stores, 18,000 recording studios, and 100,000 music schools in North America alone. And we've actually seen an uptick of interest from recording studios and music stores because of COVID, because recording studios are having virtual events and music stores have to keep their distance. So altogether, with these markets, we have a $600 million market. Now, how do we make money? There's 3 key revenue streams. The first one is through the sale of the stand itself. The second one is recurring revenue through software upgrades over time. And the third one is by working with manufacturers to improve their manufacturing process.
So who's actually behind Tunify? Well, we have a very talented team of individuals who have worked at reputable companies like Google, Airbus, Microsoft, Shopify. We're able to have extreme expertise in control systems, as well as artificial intelligence, production, and business development. But in addition to our management team, we actually have a very strong advisory team of individuals who have built businesses in 10 million plus in revenue each year. We have collaborations with very famous recording studios and record labels like Universal Music, Long & McQuaid, one of the most popular labels in stores within North America. And we actually have 35,000 plus on monetary value in terms of partnerships with manufacturing institutes within Canada alone. So what about traction? Well, as you can see here on the left, we have an image with a very famous Canadian musician. His name is Hugh Christopher Brown in the Wolf Island record label. And on the right, we've actually connected and are working now with Jam Chamber Studios in Toronto. We actually recently performed and presented on Dragon's Den, which is a very popular Netflix show from the CBC network. And we're able to demo our device and present it to the Dragons, over $1 billion in net worth. And we actually won over $20,000 in competitions and will actually be competing in South Korea and Dubai within 2021 of next year. So in addition to Dubai and South Korea, we're extremely excited to meet with the Rolling Stones actually. We were connected with them through Wolf Island Records and actually partnered with the Beverly Hills digital music marketing campaign in Beverly Hills. And they have actually over 2 million subscribers. So that's going to be great traction there. We currently have our provisional patent filed. We have launched over 10 pilots within studios and recording labels within Canada and are in the process of bringing our product to the commercialization stage for Q1 2021. Altogether, we are Tunify. We aim to unify art and science, and if Tony Stark were to build a guitar tuner, this is what it would look like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael and Mitchell. Really exciting to hear about Tunify, and always fun to learn about a new market that you knew nothing about before. And so, shocking to hear how large the guitar market is and the opportunity that exists there. So, appreciate the education. I'd love to throw it over to our judges. Maybe Miriam, would you like to kick us off with any initial questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, and very impressive. I've actually had a startup that was in the same market, exactly what you are doing, guys, but with the guitars, and I know how passionate people can be with that. So that's good. I wanted to know about the adoption from the manufacturing sector. How you have perceived that, how you are going to pursue that as this is one of the streams of revenue that you're proposing.
Oh, so are you talking about the third revenue stream on that one slide? Yeah, so great question. So we actually realized that guitar suppliers, there's currently no standard globally on how different types of guitars perform against others. So like, does a Fender need to be tuned more than a Gibson? That standard does not exist currently. So because we have a large magnitude of guitars that are being tuned all the time, we actually have very valuable data that we can then work with the suppliers for them to actually know how they're performing, how their guitars are performing against others. So we were able to kind of sell that data through to the suppliers because it's of extreme value to them. So our data, the backend data, is extremely valuable in that sense.
Thank you. Any questions to Gil?
Sure. Thanks for the presentation. I have a son who's wants to become a professional guitar player. So
oh, fantastic!
This one is close to my heart. Isn't there though enough variability in the way that somebody would like to get a guitar tuned for a particular performance or a particular song that the idea of standardizing the tuning process across all of the different instruments and all of the different applications or tunes that they can play, isn't that sort of an anathema to the guitar player, that to have all the standardized tuning?
Yeah, I can actually take that one. So when Michael talked about having a standard, that's for the manufacturing process of guitars. But of course, there are different kinds of tuning. A very popular one is drop D, and there are many other non-standard tunings. And that's actually a key thing that some of the musicians we spoke to said, like, this is super valuable because we can tune to the exact frequency. Like, we can have the Nikhil tuning on the Tunify stand, and it'll be the exact same every single time when you put it on the stand. So every band has their own unique sound, and this tuner can reproduce it every single time. So there's a lot of value in that.
Is that a setting through an interface that they can set to a particular kind of tuning that they want the guitar to be?
Yeah, exactly. That's all through the touch interface.
Great, thanks.
Very cool. Melanie, any final questions for the team?
Actually, my questions have been answered already. Thank you.
I was gonna say, Nikhil, I think you're channeling Jimmy from the chat, because he basically asked the exact same question about non-standard tuning. But a second element of Jimmy's question was, can it tune other string instruments? And have you thought about going beyond the guitar?
Yeah, so great question. So after doing a lot of customer interviews, that was something that was of interest. So we're actually currently working within our tech team as like for a version 2 product that is able to tune ukuleles, violins, cellos, additional string instruments, because we hard-coded the computer vision like AI algorithm ourselves, which allows us to have the flexibility of locating pegs in 3D space. So we actually have the flexibility to tune other string instruments in the future, and that will open up the market even further. Like string instruments alone are like close to $10 billion in market size. So we're really excited about that.
No, very, very interesting. It sounds like a huge market. And maybe one final question for me. It seems like what you built is a very, very precise robotic arm, or a multi-variable robotic arm that is able to do kind of incredibly high precision, movements. Do you see applications outside of, I always think of like tuning a machine as like being a surgeon or something like that. The applications outside of this?
Yeah, Mitch, do you want to take that?
Yeah, for sure. So there are many applications, and that's why in our patent strategy, our IP strategy, the robotic arms itself, which we call MARA, which is micro autonomous robotic arms, is separate from the actual tuning application, and they can be licensed for other applications, including agriculture or welding in very tight spaces. So there are many applications. And there is interest. We actually spoke to the Mars, someone in the Mars Discovery District, their robotics arm, which said that there are many applications for these arms to be able to use fine motor control and vision together, combining those to, I guess, have very specific applications.
No, it makes sense. Sounds like a really exciting, or I guess a big challenge that you guys are going after, that if you can solve, has a lot of applications. So thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. With that, we are ready for our 7th presenting company. It is my pleasure to welcome Nick from Biosa Technologies to the virtual stage.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, see you, and see your presentation. You're good.
Okay, that's good. Okay, good evening, judges. My company is Biosa Technologies. I'm Dr. Nick Lidra, and we make advanced state-of-the-art biopolymers. And so after a lot of market research, we found that there were 3 definite problems that were coming up. One was an environmental problem for industries where they use harsh chemicals in their processes and dump those chemicals for environmental waste. Second, health and safety for employees as well as the public. And then third, the legal repercussions of using these harsh chemicals. So BIOSA set out to create a technological platform that helped to use these proprietary biopolymers to be used in these processes to provide a green and sustainable solution. So what we do is we use our core technology, we fusion that with already existing industrial processes that these companies may have, and then integrate and streamline their manufacturing process. Or we can create an entirely new process, consultation based, that produces a raw material that they can be used for their production. And then finally, we are able to license that technology that we've created to them for overseas markets. So our three revenue generation models are to license the technology, to continue with service contracts with the companies, and then finally also to produce novel products for them. So far, we have that core technology, and our core technology can be applied for things from textiles, supplements, paint and coatings, and we basically use these commercial partners to streamline our process, and we depend on their collaboration, their system, basically working with them closely to commercialize our product. So this kind of technology, it has a $286 billion global market that's pre-COVID. Right now, we're going after the Canadian market, but we're looking to amplify that. Our go-to-market strategy is strategic partnerships, market validations, as well as developing public relations within Canada and overseas. Our traction timeline, we've been working with the Canadian military to develop revolutionary products, and they've liked our product so much they recommended us to the Canadian Navy, and in turn we've been working also to work closely with the NATO allies to produce state-of-the-art kind of PPE products. Our products also, as I mentioned, can go into streamlining other processes, and we've been working with quinoa companies here in Canada as well as in Peru, and mining as well. Everyone knows how deleterious mining chemicals are, and we've been working with mining companies in South America as well as Maple Leaf Foods here in Canada for developing state-of-the-art packaging. So based on our projection now, we have several LOIs from within Canada and around the world. So we're looking at a revenue model of 2024 of about 2 million. That could go up depending on our international expansion. So as I mentioned before, North America, we're looking at first. We've secured our patents here already. And then we're looking to expansion through South America and Europe, where we're planning to roll our PCT application into further patents there. Myself, CEO and founder, I'm explaining to why Jorge, who's our international finance person, is leading our charge into South America, and Nigel for a domestic market as well as in the US market. We have scientific staff as well as operations and logistics. Once again, I'm Dr. Nick Lidra, BIOSA Technologies, next generation of biopolymers to make industries safer and greener. Thank you.
Nick, thank you so much for sharing some information about BIOSA Technologies with us. It sounds like a really exciting work that you're doing to green these industries. I'd love to turn it over to our judges in case we have any questions. Maybe Nikhil, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thanks, Nick. So 2024 revenue projections are 2 million.
Yes.
What kind of investment will you need to get to that number?
Yeah, so we're looking at an investment now of about 1 million, approximately 800,000 to 1 million to get to that point.
Okay, one would have thought that with all the different applications that you've got for this product in all of these different markets, that the potential to grow revenue beyond, $2 million in the next 4 years, it should be significant.
Yeah,
I don't understand why the very modest targeting of, we're not quite used to startups being conservative in their financial projections.
Yeah, I'm just the data that I'm using is the actual data we have, based on LOIs and based on contracts. I'm not trying to embellish anything. I'm not trying to add anything. Obviously, there's, as you correctly mentioned, there's potential to be $50 million, but what we have right now is what you see. So, I don't want to fool anyone or anything like that.
Sorry. And then just really quick, so what is your go-to-market strategy? How are you finding customers?
Yeah, so we're finding customers really through using our connections on our network. So through the Canadian government and as well as through Department of Defense, NRC as well. There's it's word of mouth is worth gold, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions from you, Melanie?
Not at the moment.
What about you, Miriam?
No, actually, I don't have questions. Just got the answers from the last answer.
Wonderful. Nick, I've got a quick question, and
Sure.
This speaks a little bit to what Nikhil was just mentioning, but can you talk about the market size a little bit, and what's your opportunity to get disproportionate amounts of market share? Because my assumption is that the enzyme market is massive, and that the way you're approaching kind of storage and stability around enzymes arguably could be transformative. So what's the real market that you're going after?
Yeah, so you're talking about an individual vertical section, or you're talking about just like in the entirety of the market?
Where you see applicability for your product, maybe not today, but over the long term, what's the market that you hope to grow into?
Oh, yes. Okay. So the market that we're hoping to grow into eventually is a combination of energy sequestration and also using drug delivery. So sustained drug delivery that could be implanted in the body for controlled release over time.
Wonderful. Nick, thank you so much for sharing that vision and the opportunity of BIOSA with us. We really appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, judges.
And we are ready for our second to last presentation. It is my pleasure to welcome Dan from Bicep to the virtual stage.
Perfect. Are we all set there?
You're coming through loud and clear, and we can see your presentation.
Perfect. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Bordnave, and I'm the founder of Bicep. So a little bit about myself. I graduated with my bachelor's of kinesiology and my master's of science in applied health sciences. And while I was a student, I started practicing as a kinesiologist across many different facilities for many different years. And I found the manner in which we did our ambulation mobility training across all the facilities, I found it relatively unsafe and inefficient. In fact, I found 4 main pain points in the current way we do mobility training. The first is that it takes 2 to 3 healthcare practitioners to complete this training, 1 therapist to walk with the patient in the walker, and another therapist to follow behind with the wheelchair. And just hiring that second therapist to push the wheelchair from behind on a part-time basis costs the North American healthcare system $3.6 billion a year. Now, in some scenarios, and like it was in mine, we often didn't have that staff or funding available. So we had to do the work of 2 by ourselves. And that led to a lot of workplace injuries. In fact, 45% of the workplace injuries in a hospital or long-term care home come from patient transfer. And now because we don't have that staffing available, because these patients aren't walking as frequently, they often develop a fear of falling. And we know that 36% of patients in these facilities have a fear of falling. And then we have those ambitious patients who decide they don't need any support from any type of caregiver, and they try to walk on their own with their assistive device and have a fall. And the average cost of a fall in a healthcare facility using an assistive device is $42,000. So in order to combat all these issues, I got together with my late abuelo, who was a tool and die maker, and we invented the ARM, the Ambulation Retraining Mobility Mechanism. This device attaches any wheelchair to any walker, allows the patient to walk with the walker while the wheelchair trails behind them, and provides a safe and lateral posterior support system so the patient always feels safe when they're walking. So we knew it was good in theory, but how did it fare with the patients? So we did a research study testing our device compared to that traditional method, and we found that the ARM actually increased their walking speed by 24%, their walking distance by 15%, but most importantly, it increased their self-confidence by 48% and decreased their fear of falling by 20%. So we knew it was good in theory. We knew that it worked with the patients, but how did the therapists feel about it? Well, over the last year, we asked over 100 therapists if they would use this device or recommend it to a friend, and 90% said that they would. So in regards to the market for this, well, we know there's 120,000 healthcare facilities in North America, and we want to target top 25% because we're already in conversation with the large distribution and GPOs that control the inventory for these facilities. And we want to sell 10 devices per facility, give us a market share of 300,000 units. In regards to the global market, well, we know the global assistive device market is $61 billion and is growing by 5% annually, and we're going to be capturing that as well. In regards to competitors, well, because this is a novel device that has never been invented, a device that attaches a wheelchair to a walker, we don't have any competitors in that regard, but we do have competitors for a secondary feature of our device, and that's a patient transfer. So secondary feature of our device is to help a patient transfer, and there are a lot of competitors, but again, they're all very expensive and at least require one operator. So how do we differ? Well, we have the only device that attaches a wheelchair and a walker for ambulation purposes, and we got utility patent issued in Canada and US to cover that it covers any standalone wheelchair cannot be attached to any standalone walker unless it's using our device. We have FDA and Health Canada regulation. We've completed our clinical trials, found it's easier for the patients, safe for the therapist, and more versatile. In regards to our team, we have myself, David D'Angelo, who's our COO, who had a biodegradable plastics company that made the biodegradable plastics out of corn. He sold it to one of his competitors, one of the larger organizations in the United States, Dr. David Dieter, who is our director of research, one of Canada's leading spinal cord researchers, and Sohaib, who is our business development. Our board of advisors, who is made up of individuals who've had exits in medtech companies, 2 from the States and 2 from Canada. And then this is just our device, our market-ready device, which will be ready for October. And we have what's called our exercise mode, where you detach the walker, and now the patient can do standing exercises. They can stand and do daily tasks as brushing their teeth, cooking on counters. And if we were successful in winning this round of funding, we use the majority to file a PCT for the global competition, and we will fulfill our 100 pre-orders, as well as put some more towards marketing, trade shows, and other conferences. I'd like to give a big thank you to all the support we gained from local organizations here in Canada and the US. And we want to say thank you very much. We would gladly accept any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. That was perfectly timed. Very, very, very impressive, down to the second. We really
promise I didn't practice.
No, you nailed it. You nailed it. Thank you so much. Would love to turn it over to our judges for any questions. Maybe Melanie, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I have a question. So I noticed that it's geared to homes and maybe seniors, but in terms of mobility and someone that's had like a spinal cord injury or any type of rehabilitation, have you looked at that industry? I know that there is a slide that was in there that mentioned it. So I just want to find out if you've looked a little deeper into that.
Yes, actually, we're one of our, I guess would be supporters is the Praxis Institute of Canada. And we've done a couple other programs as well as our team member, Dr. David Dieter. He is one of Canada's leading spinal cord injury researchers, and he actually owns a lab in Ontario, Niagara Falls area, in which we work with MS patients, muscular dystrophy patients, stroke patients, spinal cord patients. So we've done clinical trials on the majority of those patients and still have found improvements with our device compared to that traditional method.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any questions from Miriam?
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. It was really good. Just have one question about the challenges that people can have when they are trying to work with this. Sometimes facilities are not like friendly for those type of devices. How do you see those challenges coming from you, since it looks like it's a large device?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it is a larger device, and we have a couple of versions. We have a smaller version for what we call our in-home use or our B2C customers. And then we have a large one for our B2B, which is the larger institutions. So we've adapted it as well. And we've also made it adjustable for length. So it can go as small as 8 inches and can adapt all the way up to 20 inches. So around those tighter corridors in the older hospitals, long-term care homes, retirement homes, they'll just make the device a little bit smaller, and then they'll still be able to use it quite functionally.
Nikhil, any questions on your side?
Nothing for now. I think Melanie asked my question.
Wonderful. We have a question, or we maybe have 2 questions from the audience.
Absolutely.
The first one's pretty easy, or I don't know if it's easy. It's what does reimbursement look like, and is insurance covering these devices?
That's a great question. So currently we are in conversations with OHIP of Ontario to get reimbursements, reimbursement code, and we are also working with an agency in the United States to get our Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement as well. We're going more with the public reimbursement first before we get private insurance to reimburse them, because the theory is that if the public reimburses them, then that the private ones will jump in after that. So we want to go for the big fish first, and things are looking very well.
Oh, wonderful. Makes a lot of sense. We have another question from David in the audience. He says, I feel like I've seen a lot of great emerging products in the rehabilitation market, but very few seem to get widespread adoption. How are you going to break through into the industry?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So right now we are in conversation with a couple of different distributors in the US and Canada that distribute these devices to these organizations. So we signed a couple letter of intents. Can't name any names for confidentiality purposes, but it's looking very, very bright. So that's the main way to get in, is going through these distributor networks, as well as different trade shows, conferences, and getting reimbursement codes as well, so that when patients purchase it, they know they're going to get reimbursed from it as well.
Thank you so much, Stan. Really appreciate you sharing the bicep story with us.
Thank you guys very much.
And with that, we are ready for our final presentation. Certainly last but not least, we're excited to have our final presenter here, and he's got a difficult job finishing up after all of these great presentations, but I'm confident he's going to share something that we're excited about. It's my pleasure to welcome Dan from Flight Material Sciences to the virtual stage.
Hello, everybody. Are we coming through?
We can see you, and if you go into a full screen mode, you'll be set. Perfect. Looks great.
Okay, thanks, everybody. It's one thing to have a hard act to follow. It's another to have 8 hard acts to follow. But I'll do my best to keep you awake for this last one and get you home on time. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Cohen, the founder of Flight Material Sciences, and it's a privilege to present to the Entrepreneurship World Cup tonight. Back in 2017, I was the head of a solar structures company, and we were looking for a way to keep snow and ice and frost and other agents off of solar panels, and didn't really find what I was looking for in the coatings market or the research market, but we did find this, and it's changed my life and the lives of others now. So Flight Material Science is for industrial products that we depend on. Now, when we depend on these products, every aspect of our daily life, and when their surfaces are affected by rust and fouling and ice, they fail. So we have a radical new treatment to protect all industrial materials using clean lasers instead of toxic coatings. And this technique will protect human life, reduce environmental damage, and improve the safety and performance of products. So let's get into the details. I'd like to teach you about this technology in under 1 minute. This is the surface of stainless steel, and when it's magnified, you can see that its natural texture is rough and random. And when coatings are applied, they eventually fail, leaving the surface vulnerable and scattering toxic residue into the air and water. Our patented pulse technique sculpts a new texture that has a specific function. And this functional texture is one that repels water. We can also make textures that repel oil or attract liquids to the surface. This is all called laser surface functionalization. This is what super hydrophobic metal looks like up close. Liquids don't just run off, but they bounce off the surface and they take anything alongside with it like dust or debris. And if water can't stay on the surface, ice can't hold there, and rust doesn't form there, and bacteria won't grow there. So you might think that nanostructures seem fragile, but we've put these results through very harsh testing, and we are ready to face the industrial challenges that our customers have. So we've got an extensive list of opportunities that were validated by technical experts in each sector, reducing the 150 million liters of glycol in aircraft de-icing, to getting a 20% increase in solar energy, making better cardiac stents, and much more. So after living with the risk and loss and damage associated with coatings for decades, our customers are thrilled to try something new. And each of these problem areas is attached to a multi-billion-dollar industry, ready for disruption and hungry for real change. So in the $100 billion coatings market, there's a $2 billion niche with many new products that offer superhydrophobic benefits. These are our competitors, but we are not a coating. Our patented technique has the benefits of the best of these coatings with none of the downside. None of our competitors can sustain years of exposure to sun or rain or salt water in the harsh environments of aviation and space, or in the vulnerable spaces of the human body. Our team has more than 100 years of experience in early stage technology in clean tech and medical and university tech transfer. We're now a team of 6 with an advisory board, and we're adding experts with deep industry background. We have an effective balance of personalities, nationalities, and perspective here. This work has yielded a collection of published papers and patents and a tremendous amount of press coverage. We're the proud graduates of innovation groups from around North America, and our first customers come from across the industry sectors to solve a problem that coatings have not solved. So we've got a promising future, a deep pipeline of global 1,000 customers waiting for us, and our network and innovation has provided the rest of the traction. And we've barely begun to sell, but we've got millions in pipeline lined up. And as we advance, the average client will provide 5 to 15 years of recurring revenue at a margin of 80 to 90% with a strong chance of renewal. So at Flight, we envision a world where drinking water comes through clean pipes, and our ships sail through the ocean without poisoning the water, and everyday surfaces don't hold dangerous pathogens. This isn't a technology that makes a company, it's something that creates a whole industry. So with your support, we'll expand our mission of making everyday materials extraordinary. Thank you.
Dan, thank you so much for introducing us to Flight and really exciting work that you're doing, you know, in the space. I feel like I just watched the Dow Teflon documentary not too long ago, so coatings have been on the mind, and exciting to see what you're doing there. I'd love to throw it to our judges for any questions. Nikhil, maybe do you want to start us off?
Sure. Thanks, Dan. That's very exciting. Tell us a little bit about the business model, and what is it that you are selling to your customers? Is it a licensed technology? Is it a service that you go in and apply the clean laser, or is it some combination?
Well, so we've got a process. We don't want to compete with our customers. Most of them work in regulated industries that require very heavy infrastructure. So we're not going to produce their products for them. The goal is to get the proof of concept, make sure that it does what they need it to do in their environment, and then license the black boxes directly into their manufacturing. So this is based on royalty revenue and licensing revenue as long as the product has a life cycle. So that's many years away. And unfortunately, in deep tech, it creates a bit of a mystery that our revenues year to year for the next 3 to 5 years may not seem exciting, but the passive revenues for years afterwards keep going, even if we have stopped development. So it's exciting.
Thanks.
Any questions from you, Miriam?
No, this is a very exciting technology. I was thinking, since you talk about different materials, do you have any specific that you guys are going to grow in a specific vertical, or it will be applicable for any type of material at the beginning? What is the first vertical that you are looking for to be selling?
That's a good question. We do need to focus, because when you've got 100 areas to talk to, that's, that for a sales force of 5, that's limited. So we picked the areas where R&D spending was high, the problem areas were very large, and there was a lot of exploration and a failure of the coding system. So that leaves us to aviation, both commercial and defense, and oil and gas, where we've gotten a lot of traction this year, the water industry, and in semiconductors for sensors. And other areas where there's deep interest, like automotive and mass manufacturing, we'll have to wait until we've matured a bit before we go there.
Wonderful. Any questions from you, Melanie?
I do have a question. I know Miriam touched on it just briefly in terms of verticals, but have you found any materials that your technology cannot be used on?
Well, in fact, we found that there are some materials that that the lasers don't like silicone and latex, and some organics like wood, or things that are enormously rough like concrete. So we are in licensing a plasma technology that can give us similar effects on these very complicated surfaces, not as precise as the laser, but very high utility. So between the lasers and the plasma, I think we cover everything, including teeth and bone, although I'm not quite sure what to do with it yet.
Okay. And then, so one last question, Alex. So in terms of, say, if there's an infrastructure, we'll just say city infrastructure, something like we talk about drinking water. So if there's pipes that cannot be replaced, will your technology, if you look at plasma, is there a way to use that technology there to maybe do a secondary coating where you're able to extend the life of a municipal asset or something like that?
I'm so glad you asked, because the question comes up in both oil and gas, where there's lots of kilometers of pipe already in the ground, and oil, municipal and industrial. So what we're doing is we're pairing some of this technology with related technologies from our same labs, so that with a single apparatus, in a year or so, we'll be able to strip away the rust in one shot and harden the material in a second shot and texture it in a third shot, and then move on. So it's a very exciting thing to be able to do in the field, and I really hope we can get there fast, because the demand is extremely high.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
One final question from me, Dan. I feel like a couple of years ago, I saw a big kind of wave of these hydrophobic solutions like Never Wet and some new Scotchgard formulations. How do you differentiate yourself from some of those more commercial products that are on the market?
Very cool. We are tracking about 26 of those companies, and actually are friends with 3 of them. They do great jobs for the areas where they focus. And none of them have been able to penetrate much inside oil and gas or aviation, because the coatings show the super hydrophobic effect, but then the coating itself becomes the problem, and they fail and they fall off. None of these things can survive at 30,000 feet, and none of them can survive in space. And the regulatory bodies hate these things when it comes to food and beverage use or surgical use. So these are the areas where we have tons of greenfield opportunities.
Dan, thank you so much for the education and learning a little bit more about flight material science. Really exciting stuff.
It's my great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, with that, we just had 9 incredible presentations. I don't envy the judges at all. Very, very difficult decisions to be made on the scoring. All of these companies, really exciting and deserving of, these awards and opportunities. So wish we could give them to everyone. We're going to take 5 minutes right now to tally up the scores, finish any of the math that we need to do, and we will be back before you know it to announce our winning companies. Please just stick with us for a couple minutes. Thanks. Thank you very much for waiting with us here. We had to take a couple minutes to tally up the results, but we're really excited that we are ready to announce our second place winner, who's going to walk away with $10,000 in cash prizes, as well as our first place winner that's going to walk away with an amazing $25,000 in cash prizes, as well as an automatic advance to the EWC Global Finals, in October. So really, really exciting times. But before I share the winner, I've got to say one more time, congratulations to all of our presenting companies. 9 really great pitchers here. If we could move everyone forward and write a check to all of you, we would. But unfortunately, because it's a competition, we have to choose. And without any further ado, our second place winner is Genesis. Congratulations to the Genesis team. They will be winning $10,000 in cash prizes. And our first place winner, who will be advancing to the global finals, is Flight Material Science. Bringing up with the last presentation, a really, really strong pitch. Congratulations to Dan and the Flight team. Flight will be receiving $25,000 in cash, as well as an automatic advance to the global finals. Congratulations again, and we're really excited to see Flight represent Canada on the national field at the EWC. And with that, we have completed the Canadian National Finals. Thank you all again for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to spend this time with you. And please join us for the Global Finals, October 18th through 20th of this year. If you haven't signed up for the Entrepreneurship World Cup platform yet, now is the time to do it. It will keep you in the loop about all of the events, the dates, and things you need to know about, and hope you will come back to watch Flight compete against the global pool in the Entrepreneurship World Cup, October 18th through 20th. With that, I'm Alec Wright, Chief Innovation Officer of GSV Labs, and thank you again for joining. Have a great night.